Welcome back to the subject Object-Oriented Analysis and Design. And today's topics are software architecture, package diagram onto object designs. So coming to the today's topic, that is on software architecture. I think we are familiar in understanding what exactly and logical architecture. So in the previous class we discussed about logical architecture with an example. We understood that particular logical architecture diagram is designed towards the hardware resources and elements before going to develop any project. So now this software architecture will define exactly the softwares that are required or the applications that are needed to develop any software. So coming to the software architecture, computer architecture has traditionally been distinct from the method of developing used to build softwares. So this is totally different. Like when I talk the difference between developing an gaming application, web application and a software which is going to be enhanced. So there is a lot of variations in developing from one type of application and one type of software towards the other type of application or a software. So this software architecture is, there are hundreds of standard softwares are built methodologies including the waterfall and agile, scrum, and this is all these are the different types of software process lifecycle models. In each and every software lifecycle models, the way of developing the logical architecture and the way of developing the software architecture will be totally different, because it is totally depend upon the time complexity and the cost complexity and whatever the resources that are needed from one type of software development to the another type of software development. So keeping all these in mind, the analyst has to draw this software architecture. And coming to this, the overall last few years, however, it can see that technological advancements has trust process concerns upon the software architecture. So most importantly, it is useful to spread the software development process from engineering perspectives, that is practices. So generally this can be done by the engineers who is going to develop the softwares. So when we talk about the logical architecture, there is a combination of the person who is having the knowledge on the hardware as well as they need the knowledge on the software. So when we talk about the software architecture exclusively, an engineer should know that what kind of domains are needed to develop any specific application, what are the softwares that are needed, what kind of versions are needed to develop or to enhance that particular softwares. So this software architecture is much useful in clarifying all these doubts to an engineer or to an analyst. So coming to this, what is exactly this software architecture? Initially, this industry doesn't have a proper definition to this. However, individual architect will discuss software architectures as the system blueprint, while the others will define as a roadmap for the system growth. So each and every analyst will have their own perspective of defining this term which is called as an software architecture. So according to their analysis, they'll be defining, one person will say that it is a blueprint, the other person says that it's a roadmap to start any developing any project or any software. So that understanding of a blueprint or a roadmap comprises the common issues with these concepts. So what is the main purpose exactly? So this will exactly says that what kind of issues that are going to be raised. Like when we know that the old versions will not support for enhancing the new tool or new cycle of any project or any software. So that is a major focus which will be solving all that kind of issues in getting a clarity that whether these are going to be support softwares or not. Software architecture consisting of 4 features exactly. The first one is the software structure, architecture decisions, architecture characteristics and design principles described by Mark Richards and Neil Ford in this book. Whatever the prescribed authors are there, they are defining this architecture with the 4 features, that is the structure, architecture decisions, architecture characteristics and design principles. So according to these authors, they had their own idea. So let us see one of the example of a software architecture. So when we talk about the software architecture, to develop that, what are the things that are needed? One thing is, these are the architecture characteristics which consisting of, this side will have an networks. So whatever the network layers that are supporting for these particular software. So if you take one example of any cloud application or DevOps application. In that case, what are the different types of layers that we are using? If you take any security related application, or in developing any network related applications, in that case, this software architecture will define what are the layers that we are focusing in developing that application. So as we see here, there are so many layers which will exactly address towards the networks. Out of these layers, the analyst should be clear that whether they are going to be interconnecting with any one of these layers, or specifically, or they are going to be connecting to all these layers, where exactly or which particular point they are going to be focused. And when it comes to the next one, you can see that clients are there. Multiple clients are interacting with this particular web application or web page. Here you can find an HTTP client, where this client is interconnected with n number of clients. So all these users are interacting with an host person or an server person. So now this connection, how they are interconnected, what kind of browser they are using to access this web application, and how they are connected, what are the data which are going to be accessed by this client, where exactly they are going to store. So if you see the other part, here we can have an databases. So in this database, whatever the user is accessing, and where exactly the data is going to be loaded, and from there how the data is accessed towards the user and client. So if you see this overall software architecture, which is going to define that the component or the elements which are useful, that is a hardware requirement is an internet. Here we can see the databases, we can see the servers, we can see the clients and the users. Among all these people, they need a piece of code which is used to interconnect among all these various types of hardware components as well as the software elements. So here it's a combination of both hardware as well as the software. One thing the analyst has to do to understand the requirement of the hardware, at the same time towards the software versions and software tools that are needed in developing the whatever the software. So if you see, these are the characteristics of a software architecture. One is an availability, reliability, testability, scalability, security, and fault tolerance, performances, deployability, learnability, recoverability. So all these are the different types of characteristics that should be needed to any software architecture. Like this software architecture is again designed by the analyst or a developer. So they need to remember that all these characteristics should be there for that particular software architecture. Then only that will support to develop or to enhance the softwares. Coming to the package diagram. So this package diagram is one of the model under the behavioral diagram, which comes under the UML models, Unified Modeling Languages. As we know that UML models are differentiated as a structural and behavioral diagrams. This diagram will represent the behavior. Behavior in the sense, this will say that what are the hardware and the software components that are involved in developing the software. So this can be represented with a symbol element. I will show you that. Any package can be represented this is the element of an package, a symbol. Here we need to represent the name of the component or a software or a tool or an application. So here we have to represent at this point, and this is a place where we need to represent the multiple components which are going to be involved or interconnected with that particular component. So that is a symbol of defining and package. So this software architecture includes the organization and major structure of the major elements of your system. So now here the word system is nothing but our software. Before going to develop this software, this design will represent what are the major structure and major elements that are involved in that. It may be a logical or it may be a software related elements. So that how they are going to be collaborated and internal connections can be done. So these architecture dimensions and views in unified process. So this unified process is nothing but again it's a process development lifecycle model. Under that, logical architecture and deployment architecture. So these two architectures are helpful in developing the layers, useful to interconnect and can be defined. So these can be done with the help of one of the UML model which is called as a package diagram. So we can see how this package diagram will be works. As I shown you, this is a component of an package. and here we can have the relationship. One is a dependency, which is a dotted line. The other one is the solid arrow mark, which will represent the more application specifications. Like whenever we are going to draw for each and every layer one package diagram, among that we are going to be interconnected. That interconnection can be done with the help of these dependencies and application. That is a flow of direction, how they are dependent, how they are connected from one package to the other package. So what are the previous example that we have seen? For that particular software architecture, if you are going to draw the package diagram, so we have to take based on the number of layers. Depend upon the number of layers, here we can see the number of packages. Each and every package will be defining the name of that particular layer, and then what are the elements that are present in that layer. So if you see the first package, which is an GUI Windows, graphical user interface Windows, and here you are using the scripting languages. So whatever the application elements or the tools which are needed to that particular software architecture need to represent in terms of your package element. So all these are the package diagrams we can see which are related to the previous example. So partial layout, if you see that for an example of a next gen application. So in that next gen application we can see this is an overall package. In that package again we can see the n number of multiple packages which are interconnected. Each and every package will be addressing towards some components, towards some tools, towards some software applications which are helpful to enhance the or we are helpful to develop the softwares. So here we can use one of the comment which is as a note. Note symbol is used to write or to define whatever the working of this package. So we can connect this with a note symbol. So this is the second one, we can see the domain. The first one is a presentation layer. Under the presentation layer, swing is there, one is the text is there. All these are the different types of packages which are included in the first presentation layer. The second one is a domain. Domain is nothing but an area of application, in which area that you are using. So for example, this architecture is designed for a next gen application. In the next gen application, whether it is written, this application is developed for an online web application, or it is related to the agriculture, or it is related to the academics, or it is related to the hospitality. So for which application that will represent the domain. Domain is an area of specialization. So this next gen application is designed for some web application, online sales and services for an public. So if you see one package is defining the sales, the other one is a service access, how the user is interacting. The next one is the inventory. The next one is the payments, pricing, and then we can have the tax for that. So all these packages will define each and every module of that particular software. The next one is the technical services that are useful to develop this next gen application. Here the technical services are, one is the Log4j, JES, SOAP. So all these are the again applications which are useful for this particular developing the next gen application. I hope you understood this, what are the working of the package and how we can draw that for particular applications. And here we can see partial coupling between the packages, whether they are partially coupled or it is an bounded to the to an application. Hope the software architecture concept is understood by you with simple examples. Thank you.